For joining me, we're going to go through how to make egg pasta dough. It's exactly 300 grams of 00 flour. This recipe is like the very traditional way of making pasta in Maine, Italy. If you go to Tuscany, you're gonna see recipes that show using olive oil, and like some people add salt, but the traditional way is exactly like this: 300 grams of flour, 3 eggs. Now, your egg should be as fresh as possible and at room temperature. If you aren't confident in whisking in your well in the middle, you can always whisk first in your bowl. The whole point of this is you just want to add a little bit of flour with every rotation. I might have to make this a bit bigger. And slowly incorporate all the flour. Pasta making is most about technique more than anything else. Especially because eggs vary in size. So I'm just going to be rotating my fork. And as you can see, slowly the little bits of flour will be brought from the outside and incorporated in. And you just want to be patient with this until you have a solid ball of dough. If you don't have a scale, I recommend you getting one, but 300 grams is equal to 1 cup and a quarter cup. And that is when the flour has been spooned in and then leveled off. You don't want a dense 1 1/4 cup. That can be a huge discrepancy in weight. So right now I'm just kind of bringing some more flour in. I'm at a point where I want to add more, but I don't want to break my well yet because it's still very loose. The other nice part about this is you only need to incorporate the amount that the eggs can handle. So yeah, if there is a size difference, you're not going to be adding way too much flour and being like, what the heck is going on? You know, sometimes you just have an unworkable dough and you think, oh my gosh, I need to add moisture, but an egg is way too much moisture. So, you know, you can always add like just a drop of olive oil and go from there. But that's a slippery slope to go down that I have went down before, and you end up with a completely different pasta. I mean, olive oil obviously has its own flavor profile. So if you're wondering what the difference between 00 flour is and all-purpose, it is made of a soft white wheat, which is totally different than all-purpose flours. All-purpose flours are usually made with a hard red wheat, and this is also ground a lot finer. So it's just like, it's almost like comparing, maybe not to the same extent, but sugar to icing sugar. You know, all icing sugar is just more finely ground up sugar. So this is just a more finely ground up flour, but it also is a different type of wheat. So you can see I still have like at least a quarter of a cup of flour not incorporated yet, but it's starting to form a ball. Now this is way too moist of a dough ball for me to actually stop using the fork, but I should be able to incorporate it all soon. almost to the point where I want to start kneading it with my hands. And then I'll show you that technique. Still very sticky though. So when you first start, you just want to kind of fold it and pinch it in. You only have the required amount of flour, so don't be afraid of adding too much. Just be afraid of adding too much at one point. So less is more when you're bringing the flour actually into the dough ball. So when kneading, you want to push away from yourself with the heel of your hand and then pull back. And you can also rotate it every time you do that. So what this is doing is not just continuously incorporating the rest of the flour, but it's also working that gluten to make it a stronger network as well, which in turn, stronger gluten actually makes for a softer, more tender bite of noodle. So you wouldn't want to just stop there and be like, oh, it's in a ball, I'll cover that and go. You really do want to take the time, which is about 10 minutes, to knead it. Now, I don't think I need to explain that, so I will put this on fast forward and you can watch it, but you don't need to, in real time, watch 10 minutes of kneading. But I'll show you how to know when you've kneaded enough when I get to that point. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few different ways to tell if your dough has been kneaded enough. The first is that it holds its shape. So like it should hold its shape pretty well. Another one is that it's smooth, and it is, it's really smooth. Another one is the poke test, so you can use your knuckle or your fingertip, but if it starts to fill in, you're good, which this angle's weird, but it is starting to fill in. See how it bounces back? The other one's a window pane test, which I find really hard to show on camera, but you can either go with the ends of it and slowly stretch it out, or gently, I should say. And if you can start to see through it, that's the gluten that is developed, so you're good to go there. And I think another way is if you're kneading by hand after 10 minutes of kneading, you're tired. So that's how you tell. Now, after this, we're just going to wrap it in cellophane wrap, put it in the fridge at least 30 minutes. You know, you can go up to a whole day before if you want. The longer, the better. So once I know that it's kneaded enough, I like to flatten it into a disc, because when I roll my dough out, I use my bench scraper and cut it into like 4 pieces and then roll it out, or 8 pieces, depending how much dough I've made. So it's easier to smooth out when or flatten out when it's in this state as opposed to cold. So anyway, put it in a disc shape now and you'll thank yourself later.